well. But there's been a few times that I've seen things that I didn't know were going to pop up on the TV. But like if something comes on, I have to turn it because I like the average person can just think about something and go, yeah, that's really sad. And but with me, it could or it could not. But I never know. It could just keep going and going, and I keep replaying it and wonder what can I do, and it can just really just take over, for a while. And that doesn't always happen, but it can. Howie Mandel said something on the Regis and Kelly show that really sums it up. We all have crazy thoughts. All of us do, whether we admit it or not. But the difference is, I can have a crazy thought and it won't leave, or it won't leave for a while. You can have a crazy thought and then it just, okay, whatever. And this isn't like an everyday thing. I have episodes. No, it's always there, but it's always not really bad. But I have episodes, something can trigger it, or maybe nothing triggers it. Also, it has come out in my relationships, my relationship with Joe. I'm always questioned, whether I'm supposed to be with him. And whether that is real or not real, I think it does play into it. It doesn't make things any easier or whatever. And it can come out in all different ways. I question things. I have a hard time making decisions on things sometimes because I don't want to make the wrong one. And it's just, there's a lot of things that can happen, but it's overwhelming at times and it can be exhausting. Over the years, I've come up with little tricks to help myself, but I knew that I needed something more, so that's why I'm going to this therapy now. And in a way, I want people to know, but then another way I'm like, well, am I sure I want people to know, that kind of thing? But I'm just being honest here and real, and I'm just letting you know what I go through. And whatever reaction you have to it is up to you, but I can't sweep this under the rug anymore. I can't just pretend and put on a smile and like Howie Mandel used comedy, and I've always been funny and try to be funny, and which that is me too, but in a lot of ways I think it's a coping mechanism as well. Also, I can be very short-tempered at times and get angry about things and just irritated, and he talks about that too, that you just get irritated, easily sometimes, and I like to have attention. I like to be in control, and I think I have a fear of maybe being out of control. Like for instance, when I was on the bus, another thing, when I was in middle school, I forgot this. There was a time when somebody would brush up against me, and I'd wipe my arm off. It was just little things like that, and also, I remember I had to ride the bus one year, and I did not like violence at all. I still don't, as far as fighting and stuff. It scares me for some reason. And when there was a fight, most people were running toward it. I was the girl running away from it. And, having that anxiety, like I have to get away. Well, on the bus one day, I was sitting toward the back. It was my stop. This guy and this girl started fighting. Fighting, country. And I couldn't get out. And I started feeling panicky. It was my stop. I had to get out, and I was afraid they were going to close the door, and I couldn't get out. And I started feeling panicky. So just things like that from even a childhood, I remember these things. But those are just some examples. But those are just some of the things that it comes out in. There's other things, but I mean, I'm not going to go into everything. But it's exhausting. It really is. And, I wouldn't wish it on anybody. I really wouldn't. But if you do have this or the tendencies of it or any signs of it, just try to get some help, because it's hard. It's hard to live that way, especially if you have the whole full-blown thing where you're, scalding your hands off and you're taking really hot showers because of germs. I just can't imagine having to feel that way. So in a way, I'm blessed that I don't have have those things, even though what I do is enough and it's exhausting and it affects other people. I know it pushes people away. Um, and, it affects different parts of my life. A lot of times when I'm at work, throughout the years, I couldn't concentrate if something was going on, an episode. So it can be tough, but I feel like maybe this is important that I talk about this and I let you know, no matter what happens out of this, maybe you can understand me a little more. Hey, it's me again. There's something that I forgot to talk about that I think is important. I was talking about how one ways this comes out is with my, about salvation and all that. Now, that doesn't happen as much anymore, but it does happen from time to time. But it was really bad, like I said, back years ago. Well, now I go to a church that they don't do a formal invitation, which is really good for me because if they did, I think it would trigger it again. So a lot of people don't agree with that, but it's helpful for me or somebody like me, I think, when I have these episodes or these spells like this. I think that's helpful for me. That way I don't, have to stress. And because it causes anxiety. I know that sounds bad, but it does. Also, I wanted to talk about, back then I would talk to everybody, and before I knew what was going on, I would talk to people and try to, get some kind of answers or whatever. And I think a lot of well-meaning, good people, Christian people, or just good, good folks, they are meaning well, but they'll tell you things like, oh, it's just the devil, or oh, it's you need to pray more, or you need to read your Bible more, stuff like this. And I know they're well meaning, but to somebody like me, that is like, maybe not so much now, but then before I knew anything was going on, that was, like not the answer. I mean, I'm not saying it wasn't the answer, but this is a real medical problem, not just something that I'm not doing, And so that was kind of scary to me then, and I would, do those things, and it still would, be there. And so, I know people mean well, but I guess people aren't educated, and maybe that's why I'm doing this too, to kind of help some folks, or something like that, I guess. But that is definitely it for right now, and it might be a crazy life, but it's my life. Bye-bye.